Welcome to the Healthy Christian Leader. I'm Dwight Habermehl. Come join me in the living room for some honest conversations. I'll be talking to guests about their journey with Christ through the joys, the challenges, and the messiness of leadership. There's always something to learn from someone's story, so let's get started. Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the Healthy Christian Leader. I'm Dwight Habermehl, and I have our guest here today, Daria Nardozza. And Daria is from Montreal and leads City Leaders Collective Canada, which is amazing. That's part of the City Leaders Collective USA movement, which is quite a large movement in the United States. There's 70 churches, or 70 cities, involved in the United States. Is that right?
Yeah, somewhere between 75 and 80, and around
Wow.
22 in Canada. But we're a global movement and primarily based in North America, but we've also just launched in Latin America, and have a heart to just support what God's doing in cities.
Now, tell us about that, and that's kind of an introductory conversation here before we get into the heart of our discussion. But what is a city movement, and what is God doing in cities around the world? Because this is new. I pastored for 14 years, and and that was when I was 20. And that's going back a fair bit of time. And that city movements were not around much back then, or you didn't hear of them.
Yeah, great question. I helped start a city network in the West End of Montreal, the West Island Network, which we would have said is a network of churches working together for the good of the community. And I actually thought that I invented this idea with my leadership team, only to discover that God was doing this in cities all over the world. And so we just had to find each other, and learn from each other, because it seems like God went ahead of us and started to say, hey, church in the city, why don't you work together? Because if you work together, you could have greater impact in your community. And so we're seeing God do that. And really, City Leaders Collective exists to help connect people who are in the city space doing this kind of work. Rob and I have also, who co-founded City Leaders Collective with me, we've been researching what is this thing that God is doing in cities. And so we've been curating content and tools for city network leaders. And then the third thing we do is that we have a coaching program. So we coach city network leaders in this work, and just connect them in that process as well.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And having participated in it, it's a tremendous resource and so encouraging just to connect with other leaders in other parts of the country who are, as you say, doing the same things and connecting the church. And it's, there's prayer movements and service projects and fellowship groups and all for pastoral leaders and all kinds of things that are happening. It's an amazing thing to watch. What are the biggest reasons churches in a city end up disconnected and isolated from one another? And what can be done about that?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen where I live, and especially across Canada, is that I think pastors are disconnected, not because they want to be disconnected. Maybe in the past there was a bit more of a competition mentality in communities among churches, but I don't think that's the case anymore.
No, neither do I.
I think it's more pastors just don't have time, maybe like they're trying to pastor their congregation and to try to go and connect with, the pastor, the church close to them. It's just hard to find bandwidth time to be able to stay connected to other pastors in the community. I think I see that as the biggest struggle.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would agree with that. And I think there's a heart and a desire, but it is the challenge
Mhm.
of making the connection. What are some of the resolves to that problem, do you think?
Yeah, it kind of takes that person to call the luncheon, call the party, call the prayer meeting, to bring pastors together. And usually, what we've seen is that when there is that sort of network leader uh, that is creating the space to make that happen, it does make it easier for those connections to start happening in a community or in a city.
Yeah, I agree. It's that relational connection and making that personal call. It's amazing. If it's a program, uh, you know, you really need to build the relational connection first and get that call. One of the things that I've noticed here that leaders have done is actually made connecting and networking in the city a priority, and discussed it with their church. I know that one pastor who is very involved in the network here in Nova Scotia talked to his board of elders and deacons about tithing a tenth of his time. And I've watched a lot of leaders actually process it that very same way. And that's a very helpful way to do it. Just set a vision, recognize the value, and then tithe a portion of time.
Yeah. Yeah, tithing that time. We've seen that in many cities, encouraging that in pastors. And whether that's part of that time is going towards connecting with other pastors or being part of a community roundtable or getting involved in their community in a way that's outside of the church walls. All amazing ways to actually, one city even, I think their commitment is like 5 minutes a day praying for five pastors a week, or they make it fun and catchy, and it encourages people to actually do that.
Oh, that's very neat.
Mm.
How does isolation affect pastors and congregations and
Mm.
the overall spiritual climate of a city?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I mean, pastoring is hard, just as leading a city network is hard, and we see the social isolation in city network leaders, which is actually part of why we wanted to start City Leaders Collective. But we also see that isolation in pastors, especially when they're disconnected in their city. And we've noticed that once you could bring pastors together around a safe space, with other pastors that are going through similar struggles. Um, Actually, I remember my pastor just sharing a story a couple weeks ago about the impact our network had on him during COVID, when everything was locked down and you're sort of in this crisis moment, and then a group of pastors just got together on Zoom to say, how are we going to do this? And even though they didn't all agree on how they were going to do it, they at least had years of relationship and trust, and then they had each other to sort of work out a hard situation in. And so just in those tough times, not feeling socially isolated. And COVID's an extreme example, but also just in the day-to-day pastoral struggles that pastors face, to be able to have that community to do life with.
You know, it's a huge thing because pastors are able to connect with other leaders who are going through the same things that they're going through, and there's a real relevance in the fellowship that it's hard to get in other places.
Yeah.
What past experiences or fears often make pastors hesitant to collaborate across denominations and church networks?
Yeah, past experiences. So I think, um, yeah, if there's not denominational alignment, if someone believes something different, that that trust might not be there, right from the beginning. What I've seen though is that if pastors come into these situations with curiosity and openness, usually they discover that even though that person's from a different denomination, they still love God and have a very similar heart and vision for their congregations, for their city, for their community. And even though, yeah, it's a different denomination, what many pastors discover is friendship, even when they might have this idea in their mind or a fear that, oh, this is a different church or a different, and I think what we've seen and what we continue to see is there's more alignment than what people expect there is.
Yeah. And here in Halifax and in Nova Scotia, we've literally described who we are as a network as friends in ministry,
Mhm.
which is the core of the identity. Can you share a story where churches chose to come together and it brought some unexpected encouragement or breakthrough?
Oh yeah. Yeah, those stories are endless, it feels like. But I guess I could share a personal one in the West Island of Montreal, where I was born and raised. And it started with actually, I supervised a community exegesis, so a study of the neighborhood where we looked at the context and culture and, what God was doing in the community. We presented that report to a handful of churches. And from there, a lot of the church leaders actually met for the first time, and so we called this gathering, and then the church pastors started to say, and leaders, now that we have this report on our community, let's meet together and pray about what God might have us do. And 4 years later, they discovered they were still praying together. I think they were praying together every week for the community using this report. And they finally said, we need to catalyze, we need to actually start doing something. And that's when they hired me to be their first network catalyst to help them work together to actually do more in the community. And and so we see across many cities pastors coming together, and then just the fruit that comes out of their desire to work together, whether that's yeah, praying or serving their communities or doing different evangelism and discipleship initiatives. Um, yeah, there's many of those stories.
Mm.
Mhm.
What are the most important mindsets or attitudes that help churches and leaders build trust with one another?
Mhm. I mean, I think staying humble and curious, and yeah, going into every relationship, yeah, curious about what um, I think it's easy to assume something of someone based on their church or denomination, or but yeah, going in with humility and curiosity of the other.
Yeah, it's amazing how many prejudices we actually have among denominations. And when you actually have fellowship, you realize, oh, it's not exactly how I thought, or I'd pictured it in my mind. And there's growth and engagement and encouragement that happens
Mhm.
that's really amazing.
Mhm.
What simple practical steps can a pastor take to start building relationships
Mhm.
with other leaders in a city?
Yeah, I think just finding out what churches are around you, and then picking up the phone or walking in and going out for coffee with another pastor, getting to know your church neighbors, and who all is out there, and just growing that slowly is a great start. And then, once you meet a few of them, call them together for a lunch, and say, figure out next steps from there. But I think it starts with a lot of coffees or tea.
Mm. So it's the foundation stone is relationship.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now, interestingly, the study that you did in Montreal that was so catalytic in bringing the city together in with purpose.
Mhm.
How would a person go about a study like that? Is that something that needs to be complex and take enormous amounts of time, or is it something that can be, done on a lighter weight basis.
Mhm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, good. So we call it a community exegesis. And so Glenn Smith coined that term with Ray Bakke, who wrote the book An Urban Christian or Theology as Big as Your City. And Glenn Smith is from Montreal. It was my mentor. It's been my mentor for about 20 years. He's written articles like 20 Steps to Exegete Your Community. But all those processes, could easily take, a few interns and a summer, which is a great way to do it, to create this report. I did a class a couple of years ago trying to figure out more of like a four-step approach to do it and less time. That's something a pastor could do to do this kind of work as well. So there is now many ways to do it. I actually just finished one of my city that I launched a few weeks ago. Um, and it's just such a helpful tool to bring the community together. When we launched it a few weeks ago, we brought together, there's 5 churches in my city, a food bank, some community organizations, and we brought them together and, we're able to say, how do we work better together in our city? And the response was incredible. And so I do say that is a great place to start as well, is by exegeting your community. Happy to talk anyone through that if they're interested.
What I would imagine that if you even had a framework
Mhm.
with the power of AI today and how much data is involved in the internet, you could probably do a lightweight kind of exegesis of a city using those tools that could at least get you started, could you not?
Totally. Yeah, and so definitely that's part of it is understanding the data and the history of your city. And we'd say there's 7 to 10 data points you'd want to look at. But a big part of it as well is prayer walking. It's just like, what's God saying to us in our community and praying. And then the third part is interviews. And so setting up interview questions and even going to start by doing 10 interviews just to learn what's going on in the community and how you could be part of it. And then the last part would be uh, engagement. Like now that we know, we've prayer walked, we've looked at the history and data, we've interviewed some people, like then it's discerning, okay, now what do we do together? And so that's sort of the short version of the 20 steps.
No, that's very, very good. Can you give us a sneak peek at a few of those different areas that you examine?
Yeah, you want to look at population, immigration, what percent of your city are new immigrants, marriage and child rate. My city has well, actually a lower marriage rate, but a lot of children and a lot of young families that live in my community. You want to look at religion, what percentage are what. Um, Different demographics. So yeah, those are just a few of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I would imagine you could develop some great discussion questions around that profile once it came together.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that data is so easy to get now. Where when we were doing this 20 years ago, we had Excel spreadsheets with 2,000 lines comparing the different neighborhoods, and it's so much easier to compare and contrast that data now.
Oh, that's so good. Once collaboration begins, what habits or rhythms help those relationships stay healthy and long lasting?
Mhm. Yeah, I think a lot what we see in a lot of city networks is a rhythm of leaders coming together and whether that's praying together a couple times a month or having a lunch once a month, creating intentional space to connect. We've seen as well um, sharing prayer needs in a city, and then all the churches could pray the same way on a different topic every month, or praying for different churches in your community. Um, yeah, those are just small, easy, tangible ways to stay connected.
What easy small wins can churches pursue together that help build momentum
Mm.
and confidence in that environment?
I mean, I think our first small, easy win at the West Island Network was doing our first prayer breakfast. And so being able to gather all different leaders from across the city, even having your mayor or someone come speak at that or share at that. And it's sort of, when we did our first prayer breakfast, it was like a tangible way of bringing the church together to say, we care about our city together. We want to hear from our city. We want to pray for our city, and we want to show the city that, yeah, that we are together in who we are and what we do. And so that, I think that was maybe one of my first small, easy wins at the West Island Network.
Well, and it would build a lot of momentum, I would think,
Mhm.
when people see everybody in the room
Mhm.
and they're talking with city leaders like mayors
Mhm.
and others who are involved in, you know, community leadership.
Mhm.
What encourages you most right now when you look at how God is uniting leaders across cities here in Canada
Mhm.
and around the globe?
Yeah, I think what's most encouraging is that it's not anything that I am doing. Uh, God is already doing it. And so I just get to wake up every morning and be part of it and learn what he's doing and just keep fanning it into flame, and making the right connections and helping leaders find the right resources and tools to do what they're trying to do. Um, and yeah, it's just God's way ahead of us at this, and
It's
you,
amazing, isn't it?
yeah, and we see that it's his heart, and he wants it to happen. And so I think when something's happening that is so God's heart, um, we just get to walk in obedience.
That's so good. We've got about 4 minutes left, and I was just thinking with the time that we had, maybe we can help uh, somebody who is maybe listening to this right now thinking, man, we really need this in our city.
Mm.
And maybe I might be interested in, putting some effort behind this.
Mhm.
Where do you start, and how can they get connected to City Leaders Collective
Mhm.
here in Canada?
Yeah, so our website is cityleaderscollective.org. Feel free to email me, Daria at cityleaderscollective.org. Um, yeah, and I think as you go on, if you go on our website, you'll see a list of books that would probably really inspire you in this work. Eric, who co-founded City Leaders Collective with us, wrote the book To Transform a City, and he talks about the whole church, whole gospel, and really great vision of how, what does it look like to come together as a church in the city, and why is that important? So I'd say that would maybe be a great place to start. And then at the same time, call up a few pastors and ask them to go out for lunch and pray. Start praying for your city. Start asking God what He's already doing and how you could be part of it.
Mm. Now, City Leaders Collective has been a real blessing to me. It's a monthly call that
Mhm.
we have online,
Mhm.
and city leaders, you facilitated, of course,
Mhm.
and there's a sharing of stories of
Mhm.
what God's doing, like a reporting in what God's doing in cities across Canada. There's great resources as we feature different people sharing on different topics and so on. Is if somebody's serious about getting a movement going
Mhm.
in a local city, would that be available to them? And if so, how much does it cost?
Well, it's free. Yeah, just you could join that. So yeah, we do have a Canada call that's more of a regional, more focused for city network leaders doing this work. We also have an all call, we call it, which is the third Wednesday of the month, which is open to anyone and anyone trying, try exploring what this even looks like. And on that call every month, we have a city network leader present 10 minutes 10 slides, what their network is, how they do what they do. And that's actually a really great introductory call as well, that we do monthly. And it's really just exploring what's God doing in cities. So that would be a really great call to connect to as well.
Oh, that's so good. So the website again is?
cityleaderscollective.org.
Okay. And there they can make their way over to connect to you.
They can join our mailing list.
Yeah, okay, join the mailing list. And there they could get the links to be able to connect into the monthly gathering or gather other resources and education.
Yeah.
Well, Daria, it's been amazing to chat about this. And I too am so encouraged by what God is doing in cities right across our nation and around the world. And it's just such a blessing to have you as a friend in ministry, but also to be meeting monthly as part of the City Leaders Collective Canada. And so, friends, this is a vision that's on the heart of God. And I would encourage you to consider checking it out. If you have a passion for your city, if you don't feel like that's something you can do, maybe you can just encourage others to consider it. Share this video, talk to others, because we want to see city movements all across the nation, in small towns and large cities, because God's at work. The bride of Christ is coming together for health and harvest, and you can be part of that movement. So we'll see you next time on The Healthy Christian Leader. Well, thanks for joining this conversation. I trust that you were encouraged and challenged by the stories and experiences that were shared today. Would you join us next week? You can find new episodes weekly in video form on the Aaron Ministries YouTube page and in audio form wherever you get your podcasts. Aaron Ministries is an interdenominational network of friends in ministry with a mission to foster healthy Christian leadership. Check out our website, aaronministries.com, for more information and resources and on how you can donate to our ministry and potentially start a healthy Christian leader gathering in your area. Until we meet again, may you experience the Lord's blessing, grace, and peace. I'll see you next week.